medical practice as we do it today, based on this superstition of materialism, does nothing to alter the overall morbidity or mortality of disease in a given population. Sure, it is very useful in emergency situations, in acute situations, and yes, we don't have diseases like polio, like smallpox, like tuberculosis, but we have a much larger incidence of things like coronary artery disease, diabetes, like mental disorders, like arthritis, like Alzheimer's, like cancer, like arthritis. These are actually increasing, while some are decreasing. So what we see is a different expression of the disease process. And it's not because as scientists we don't have the right intentions, it's because as scientists we have been entrenched in this superstition of materialism. So let me offer to you today a model different from the materialistic model, which is based on some of the most ancient wisdom that the human race has ever had, the ancient wisdom of the Vedic tradition, on which is based the whole knowledge of Maharishi Ayurveda. And this wisdom is consistent with the most astonishing insights of modern science as well. And it goes thousands of years, and it says the human body is not a physical machine, but rather it is a river of intelligence and information and knowledge and energy. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus, he said there's something very mysterious about a river. When you look at a river, it looks the same to you every moment that you look at it. But in fact, it's a new in every second of your perception of it. And the Indian sages of Veda, they said the same thing. They said a river is a very good example of Maya. Maya means illusion or that which is not. You look at the river and it looks to you every moment the same river. Heraclitus said you cannot step into the same river twice because new water is flowing in all the time. When we look at the human body, we also see the same thing. The real you, and when we, in a moment, see who that real you is, cannot step into the same flesh and bones twice, because in every second of your existence, you're actually renewing your body more effortlessly, more rapidly, more efficiently than you can change your clothes. We can take a number of processes, such as eating, breathing, digestion, metabolism, elimination, thought process, etc. And we'll see that in fact the human body is a very dynamic field of energy that's constantly renewing itself much faster, much more effortlessly than, as I said, you can even change your clothes. For example, with each breath that you breathe in, you take in 10 to the power of 22 atoms from the universe. That's an astronomical number of raw material that comes from the universe and ultimately ends up with your heart cells, your bone cells, your DNA, etc. With each breath that you breathe out 10 to the power of 22 atoms, an astronomical number of raw material that's coming from everywhere in your body, from your heart cells, your kidney cells, literally breathing out. You are literally breathing out bits and pieces of your heart and kidney and brain. And in fact, we are sharing our organs with each other all the time. In fact, if you think that we are separate, that's another superstition. Physically speaking, we are not separate at all. As the poet Walt Whitman said, every atom belonging to you as well belongs to me, because it's been in you sometime or the other. In fact, right now, right this second in your physical body, you have 1 million atoms that were once in the body of Christ, or Buddha, or Muhammad, or Genghis, or Mr. Saddam Hussein, or Adolf Hitler. Think of anyone that has ever existed in this planet, and you have in your body right now 1 million atoms that were once in that body. Just in the last 3 weeks, statistics will show you, 1 quadrillion atoms have gone through your body that have also gone through the body of every other living species on this planet. So where are separations at all, even on a physical level? Radioactive isotope studies show that in less than 1 year we replace 98% of all the atoms in our body. You make a new liver every 6 weeks. You make a new skin once a month. A new stomach lining every 5 days. Even the brain cells that you think with as material as carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, etc., it wasn't there 1 year ago. The skeleton is replaced completely. It seems so hard, solid, permanent. The skeleton is replaced completely in 3 months. And the DNA, which is the genetic material which holds the memories of millions of years of evolutionary time, the actual raw material of the DNA, the physical matter of it, comes and goes every 6 months. So if you think you are your physical body, then according to the great seers of Ayurveda, you certainly have a dilemma. Which one are you talking about? Because the 1990 model is not the same as the 1989 model, or even the model from 3 or 4 months ago. The real you is not the physical body. The real you is not the physical body. That's an artifact of perception. That's just an artifact of perception, and we cannot trust the senses, as I said earlier. The senses are not the crucial test of reality. The senses give me the impression that the earth is flat, and I don't believe that. They tell me that the ground I stand on is stationary, and I know it's hurtling through outer space at thousands of miles an hour, etc., etc. So where can I rely on these senses? And yet my entire reality of who I think I am is based on sensory experience. Completely superstitious way of looking at the body. The Ayurvedic sages said there's a deeper reality to the body, which is much more permanent, which outlasts the physical expression of the body, and in fact gives rise to that physical expression of the body. That deeper reality, they divided into several layers of expression. They called it the subtle body and then the causal body. And today we can begin to understand these subtle bodies as what I have chosen to call the quantum mechanical body. According to the latest findings in physics, we have already seen the climactic overthrow of materialism. Anything that we do today in the world of technology, such as using a fax machine or a telephone or a type or a computer or even using a missile to go into outer space, all these technologies, television, radio, etc., are built on the notion that the basic unit of matter is that it is not matter. The basic unit of matter, an atom, is nothing other than particles that are whirling at lightning speeds around huge empty spaces, and these particles aren't material objects but fluctuations of energy and information in a void of energy and information. So if you could see the human body also the same way, you'd see it's made up of atoms. It is made up of, these atoms are particles that are moving at lightning speeds around huge empty spaces, and the particles themselves are not material objects but fluctuations of energy in an eternal dance of energy. This is the old view of the human body, a frozen anatomical structure. Rather than the body being this, it really is a river of intelligence that's constantly renewing itself. And it is part of a larger void of it that we call the universe. And with this universe, we are constantly exchanging our intelligence. And we do that through certain processes that we call eating, breathing, digestion, metabolism, assimilation, elimination, thought process. If you could see the body as a physicist would see it or explain it, he would say it's made up of atoms, and these atoms are particles which are fluctuations of energy constantly appearing and disappearing in an eternal dance of creation. And that eternal dance of creation is who you really are. You can have its experiential knowledge too. There's not a one-time genesis, once upon a time the world began, and not a one-time end, there will come an end, but it's an ongoing genesis of eternal creation. The great physicist Stephen Hawking, that Dr. Curtis was talking about this morning, Stephen Hawking, in his introduction to the book A Brief History of Time, is quoted as saying, "We live in a universe that has no beginning in time no ending in time, no outer edges in space, and nothing for a creator to do. Now try and conceive of that. Try and visualize it with your eyes closed, and you'll find that it is impossible. It's absolutely impossible. You try and conceive of a universe that has no beginning in time, and the mind boggles at the idea of something that never had a beginning. So you say, okay, I'll settle for a beginning, and then the mind again boggles, because then the obvious dilemma is, what was there before the beginning? So you say, okay, maybe there's an end, and then of course the mind immediately says, what's there after the end? You say there are outer edges in space, then the mind immediately says, what's there after the edge? So it's all non-conceptualizable completely. Quantum physics is not only stranger than we think it is, it's stranger than we can think. Because it's describing an eternal reality, an eternal continuum without beginning and ending in time. And yet it is responsible for the most successful technology of our time. So Ayurvedic seer said that eternal dance of creation, from where you come, is also without beginning in time, without ending in time, no outer edges in space, and they called it the void of being, or the void of consciousness. And they said something very interesting. They said, in the Gita one reads, when the description of that void, they say, fire cannot burn it, water cannot wet it, wind cannot dry it, weapons cannot cleave it, because it's ancient and unborn and without, and that's who you really are. So if we could really experience that, then we would really be freed, in a sense, from the mask of mortality. Once you pierce that mask of mortality, one can have the experiential knowledge of the body, which is proportionately as void as intergalactic space. To see the body as it really is, you see a huge empty void with a few scattered dots and spots and some random discharges here and there. 99.9999% of the body is mostly empty space. And the 0.00001% of it that we perceive as material, it too is empty space. And the question is, what is the nature of this empty space? Is it an emptiness of nothing, or is it a fullness of some non-material intelligence?
This is the end of side A. Fast forward your tape until it stops. Turn it over to listen to side B.